am Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. You are watching the Cowboys Report presented to you by The Guild. We're going to take it now to some way too early 53-man roster projections. Now remember, folks, things are going to change. I promise you that. This is where I think the Cowboys view their players and how they sit right now based on their depth chart. So we start, of course, with quarterback, and I think that the Cowboys will try to carry 3. If Rush and White look good in the preseason, the Cowboys will have to carry both those guys because they will not end up on the practice squad. So I think Prescott, Rush, and White make the roster, and no surprise, Dalton Sturm gets the cut there. That's not much of a surprise at all. He's not going to make the roster. He is what we call a camp arm, so don't expect Sturm to make any kind of major roster move for the Cowboys. That's the quarterback spot. Not too much debate there. Running back, though, is where things get a little tricky. I think these first 4 guys, Zeke, Rod, Tavon Austin, and Jamize Olawale. By the way, I've seen some comments about Olawale being a potential surprise cut. I could see it. I think he makes the roster, but I do just want to make note that that is a potential area where I think he makes it, but just keep an eye on it. And then if the Cowboys are going to take somebody else, I do think it will be Bo Scarbrough. Now, he is not locked into a roster spot like some seem to think. The upside is there, but he has to beat out Trey Williams, Darius Jackson, and Jordan Shun, although Shun not quite so much there. Trey Williams, by the way, worked ahead of Bo for much of OTAs. He has a decent chance to make the roster. He is not that far behind Bo. He might be ahead of him as of right now. Talent's not quite the same, but just keep an eye on Trey Williams' chances to make the roster going forward. On to receivers now. This one I think you guys will like me for because you're not going to like me when we get to tight ends. Hint, hint. Allen Hurns, Cole Beasley, Gallup. I'll list 3 receivers as starters. Obviously, you're not going to play all 3 every single snap, but those are your top 3 guys. That leaves Thompson, Brown, Wilson as your top backups, which means Terrence Williams. He's gone. I think that there's a pretty solid chance that T. Will does get suspended. I think that public intoxication arrest was more than just public intoxication. I don't know how it wasn't a DWI or DUI. Either way, I think there's a real chance that T. Will gets cut. He is not working right now. That is allowing Thompson and Hurns and Gallup and Cedrick Wilson and Noah Brown to all show up and get the reps in and look good for Scott Land and Jason Garrett. So I don't think T. Will's roster spot is locked in right now. This is the one that I feel the least confident about because there's so much uncertainty around T. Will's roster status going forward. But just keep an eye on it. If he gets suspended, I think T. Will is absolutely gone because otherwise the money doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for the Cowboys to dump it. Folks, today's show is brought to you by The Guild. Visit stayguild.com. Promo code ChatSports for 15% off your stay. Kind of like a luxury Airbnb. So if you're tired of using Airbnbs and the beds are not great, stay with The Guild instead and you won't regret it. All right, folks, we'll take it now to some tight end discussion. And this one, you guys aren't going to like me, but this is not what I would do if I was the Cowboys. It's what I think the Cowboys would do, which means that Rico Gathers didn't make the roster as of right now. Now, he can change this. Rico is not by any means locked out of it. And I think that the best case scenario for the Cowboys, as I've said before, he makes the roster. And ideally, Rico wows in the preseason. He looks absolutely incredible, and the Cowboys carry 4 tight ends. But I think that Rico's biggest issue in making the roster might not even be his blocking. It might be the presence of Tavon Austin. Because the Cowboys want to use... Oh, that's very funny, Producer Brett. Thank you. No, I don't hate Rico Gathers. Producer Brett's trying to rile up everybody in the comment section. I don't hate him. Anyway, Tavon Austin, the Cowboys want him on the field. So are you going to take Rico off to help Tavon get on take Tavon off to get Rico on the field? I think that is the similar thing to what we saw with Jason Witten and Ryan Switzer. The Cowboys want those guys on the field as much as possible. It's going to impact others' snaps. So I hope that Rico makes the roster, but the Cowboys don't seem to be all that high on him. He's working with the 4s during OTAs. It's not a promising sign for Rico's future. So a quick look here at kind of what the Cowboys' offensive skill guys look like. You got Dak, Zeke, Hurns, Beasley, and Jarwin is kind of the base set. And the second team guys that will rotate in, I'm just going to start listing Tavon Austin as an athlete. I think that's the best way to go going forward. He's a halfback receiver hybrid, just like Lance Dunbar. Then you got Rod Smith, Michael Gallup, Deonte Thompson, who, by the way, is not locked into a spot. If Cedrick Wilson wows, it might come at the cost of Thompson's roster spot. And then Geoff Swaim as well. Jarwin and Swaim seem to be the top 2 guys right now at tight end. On to OT. This one was pretty easy for me. Tyron's in, Collins in, Fleming's in. Other two guys, see ya, they're gone. That's not even up for debate unless somebody gets hurt. Where there are some debates, though, is on the interior. Now, Zack Martin, Frederick Williams, those guys are in. Those guys are going to be your starters. No-brainer there. Joe Looney and Marcus Martin, for now, I will give them the nods at the backup, which means, trying to get back on your guys' good side, Chaz Green's gone, right? I still think there's a good chance that Chaz Green makes this roster, by the way. I didn't do it for this one. We might change depending on how he fares during camp and minicamp and all that. But Chaz Green got the work ahead of everyone else at right guard with Zack Martin out of OTAs. Now, he's not going to start, but the Cowboys want Green to earn a roster spot because they invested a high pick on him. But he didn't have a great OTAs. I just think Green's confidence is shot, and it might never come back for him. All right, folks, that was the offensive side of the ball. Let's take it now to some defense talk. And we'll start, of course, on the interior of the defensive line. So David Irving, in. Malik Collins, in. Brian Price, in because they need a big guy to play that three technique role at some form. You got Jihad Ward, definitely in. And then that leaves Dayton Jones. Now, we haven't talked a lot about Jones on this show, but it was Jones, not Ely, not Tapper, that was getting first-team reps at defensive tackle, even above Brian Price. And Jones gives the Cowboys that position flex. They need bodies at the defensive tackle. He can play DE or DT, so he gets the nod over Ash, over Neal, over Antoine Woods, and over Daniel Ross. All guys that are very much in the debate here. That last spot or two at DT is going to be a real debate. So I want to know from you guys here. We'll include Jones as a D lineman here. Which defensive lineman is most likely to be on the roster? Give me a heart for Coney Ely, a like for Tapper, a wow face for Dayton Jones, or it should be a laughing face for Dayton Jones, excuse me, and a wow face for Randy Gregory. Tell you what, I do think there's a pretty decent chance that Gregory is on this roster, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But first, folks, again, we have a brand new Cowboys-only YouTube channel. Subscribe at chatsports.com/TV. All the Cowboys coverage that you want in one spot on there, chatsports.com/TV. It is the best you'll find on YouTube. On to defensive end now, and a couple spots early on, pretty easy. Tank, he's in. Crawford, he's in. Charlton, he's in. Dorrance Armstrong is in. And there's Randy Gregory. I do think that Gregory gets reinstated to the active roster, and then, of course, he makes it. But with that happening, it means that Coney, Ely, and Tapper are out. Now, I think that Tapper, of the Ely, Jones, and Tapper trio, he has the least amount of chances to make the roster. Ely has a better shot because he can play some interior defensive line. And I think the Cowboys, when they're making that call on that 9th and 10th defensive lineman, they want somebody that can play on the inside. I think that Jones does it the best, so he's going to get the nod for now. But if one of these guys wows in the preseason, we're talking like a couple sacks each game or something, they'll find a way to make the roster or even potentially trade him as well. All right, on to linebacker then here. Sean Lee, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Joe Thomas, Damian Wilson. The 6th linebacker spot is very much up in the air for me, but I'm going to give it to Justin March-Lillard for now. He looked really good on Wednesday's OTAs, offers special teams value. That's what Dallas wants in that last linebacker spot, which means some of your cuts, they do indeed include Chris Covington, Trevion Johnson, Joel Lanning, Kyle Carriel, and Ed Pinkins. That last that 6th spot, maybe the 5th spot as well with Damian Wilson, is going to be up for grabs, and special teams is the big way the Cowboys will decide that last spot. On to cornerback now, and I felt pretty good about this one, especially the top 4 guys, because Cheeto, Byron, Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown, they're not getting cut. Those are going to be your starters at cornerback, or at least your key backup players. The last spot, though, will it be Marquez White? I think there's a good chance of that. I think he has the edge right now over other players at cornerback. I think that they have a lot of talent there, but I think White over a guy like Duke Thomas, over a guy like Donovan Lumba or Travarius Ward will get the nod there. And then on to safety here. 3 guys I feel great about. Jeff Heath, Xavier Woods, Kevon Frazier, those guys are in. And I'll put Cam Kelly there for now. I did not project any other additions at safety, but if I were the Cowboys, I'm getting somebody else on my roster today because I don't want to roll into the year with just those 4 guys as my top tier players, which also means the cuts were Jamel Showers, Marqueston Huff, and Tyree Robinson. Keep an eye out for Robinson, the undrafted free agent. He could make a little bit of noise there. And then one question, folks, on the safety, who's the best one on the Cowboys? Now, producer Brett knows this, and I'm sure some of you guys do as well. Haven't always been the biggest Jeff Heath fan. But if I'm picking one guy, I think I might feel most confident in Jeff Heath. I think it'll be Xavier Woods by the end of the year, but to start the season, I think it might be Jeff Heath. And Jordan Lewis does continue to work behind Anthony Brown in the team's nickel packages, but I'd be surprised if by week 1, Lewis isn't the starting slot corner, because that just doesn't make a lot of sense to not do that. And then, of course, special teams matter too, and this was the easiest call to make. Dan, Chris, LP, congrats, you are on the roster again. Thanks for stopping by, Brett and Scott Daly. We'll see you guys next year, potentially. All right, folks, again, I love having the mailbag questions, so get your comments in the comments section. We'll bring some more up on Sunday's show. Already got a couple good ones, but keep them coming. And on YouTube, do not forget to subscribe to chatsports.com/Cowboys TV. I'll have all of our Cowboys coverage in one spot with only Cowboys as the focus point. If you missed anything on Facebook, don't worry. We'll play it again here in just a second. But until then, we'll see you next time.